Well, we are fired up and ready to go. Welcome into a Campo and Joe on our 1010XL social channels. And if you do tune in live, we totally appreciate it. Joe C. from XL Primetime and our head coach, Dave Campo, hailing now from D-Town, could be Duval or Dallas, either one, but he's fired up and ready to go. And, Coach, I'm telling you, the electricity is real in the city for this big ball game right now.
Well, yeah, it should be. Obviously there's always been that issue back in everybody's mind that when is it going to happen?
Yeah.
There's a possibility this week as a starter, and that's what we got to be excited about. Playing this kind of a football game at the end of the year is huge.
So Campo and Joe fired up and ready to go. And if you do catch us live anywhere, definitely jump in the comments section. Let us know what you're thinking about, some of the keys that you might have for this ball game. Anything else you want to throw at us, definitely do it. And Coach, just before we hit this game, because there's so much to dig into with this game, we can't even really highlight too much of what happened this past week against the Jets, because that was a bad Jets team. But you've preached to us. Get wins, stack them up, do as much as you can to get the best playoff positioning. And here we are in December, a 10-win club. First time since 2017.
Yeah, it beat my prediction, which was what I was looking for. I felt that it would be really a successful season with what they brought in and where they'd been with a 8 or 9 win season. And here we are at 10. And there's a real good chance, and again, you never know what's going to happen game to game, but there's a real good chance that they could win 11, 12, who knows? And that's a great situation. And really, when you're playing a meaningful game in this part of the season, you've done a heck of a job to get to this point. It's tough to win.
Yeah, games remaining. Denver, Indianapolis, Tennessee. Indy's not the same team. We don't know what Phillip Rivers is going to be this coming Sunday or a week from Sunday. And then you don't know what Tennessee's going to be. That may be a mail-it-in Sunday at the end of the season for the Tennessee Titans. So I'm not going to tell you those are 2 guaranteed victories, but I'm going to point out that this is the most important one to try and get right now against Denver.
Well, this really puts you in great shape. I mean, obviously you beat a team that's number 1 in the division in the AFC. Mm-hmm. That's huge. It helps your AFC wins. There's a lot of things riding on it. It keeps you at least at this point going forward with the Houston Texans that are battling you, and the Colts. Mm-hmm. And so, it's definitely a huge ball game. And before we leave this now, I'm sure we're going to talk a lot about Denver, but let's talk about the Jets. Yeah. Okay, just for a second. Mm-hmm. Let me tell you something. That wasn't one of those, we played a bad team and this, they annihilated this team. Yeah. I mean, there are very few games like that in the National Football League. And for me, at this point in the season, when you start really nailing people, you're in the right track. And when you're peaking at this point, now when you go into Denver, you've got some confidence that you can go in there and play with those guys. And there's no doubt in my mind that we can.
Yeah, that's the key right there, is building this confidence level up, winning 5 in a row, getting to double digits. Granted, you can go back and say, who have they beaten these last 5 games? Whatever, that's fine. But like you just said, if you are a double-digit favorite, which they were against the Jets, first time since you were coaching in that building back in 2007, it gives you an idea of how things have changed for Jacksonville, how crappy it is for the Jets. But Trevor Lawrence, AFC Player of the Week, Coach, 4th time for him. I know you saw the stats. First player ever in NFL history, 300 yards passing, at least 50 yards rushing, 5 touchdown passes and 1 rushing touchdown. He's playing some good ball right now.
Yeah, I think he's improved in a ton of areas. Accuracy, getting rid of the ball, running when he has to. And that's going to be big in this game now, too, as well, because they're a man defense in Denver. So, all those leadership, confident, all of those things have improved since Liam Cohen got here.
Yeah.
He understands the offense. I think he's got complete control of the offense in his mind. He knows when to make the checks. He knows when to do those things. And that's what we're looking for from this kid. Best game of his career. That's good going at this point in the season for sure.
Yeah, and granted, it's year 5. People have been waiting on it for a long time, but there's so many things you can point to. It is pretty obvious that he's playing better, but there's a lot of other things around him that are better. So whatever side you were on, whatever argument you had, hey, he doesn't have any good receivers, he doesn't have a good line, he doesn't have a good run game, look how bad that defense is. You were probably right on all those fronts. Then the other side that said, hey, Trevor needs to quit throwing the ball to the other guys. You were right as well. He needs to start using his legs. You were right as well. Though it's all coming together. I'm calling it Project 16, Coach, and it's working lights out right now.
I wish I had all this info when I was a head coach of the Cowboys. I'd had a better record. But this team has improved a lot during the course of the year, in my opinion. I think, defensively, some guys have started to show up. And, that's huge as well. And let me just say this about when you mentioned, who have they played against, this, that, and the other thing. Right. The win-loss percentage for the Broncos of the teams they've beaten is 34%. Ours is 42%. So we've played a better group of guys win-loss-wise than the Denver Broncos have. So let's not put these guys on a pedestal as we go forward here.
Yeah.
We just have to take care of our own business. Now, there are some things that are a disadvantage for us, which we'll talk about going to Denver.
Yeah.
But, again, the statistics are very, very close with these two football teams and these two quarterbacks.
And this team, the Broncos, have won 11 straight. If there's a good time to pick them off, this is a good time to pick them off. They've got the Chargers and the Chiefs remaining on their schedule after the game tonight, the game on Sunday, and then we'll see where they go with that. And so it's a great point. All right, so one more thing about this Jets game before we start really attacking the Broncos and what you think can happen. The run game wasn't necessarily there. Low yards per carry average. Trevor leading the team in rushing with 50 yards. But in the end, 4 scores from running backs catching the football in the end zone. 3 for Travis Etienne, 1 for Bashal Tutin. How big was that in terms of just giving Denver's defense so much more to think about coming into this game?
Well, there's no question. I mean, the more you move the ball around, the better chance you have. And we have some receivers that can catch the football. And, to me, that's just a case of this coaching staff figuring out that, hey, we don't have to go down the field all the time. But what it did do, and going to the running game, it's stick-to-itiveness. Mm-hmm. That's what you have to do in the running game. You're not always going to have a 130-yard rushing day, which obviously helps you because you got the play-action game and all that. Right. But anytime you stick to running the football, that makes a difference defensively. They can't just load up on you. And to me, we want to stay out of third and longs, especially against this next team we're playing. And so they've got to, when you dump a ball to a running back, that's like a running play. If you got a guy that's got speed and he can run some guys and make some guys miss, that's a plus. And they've developed a couple of things, with the wheels and some of the stuff out of the backfield. Those kind of things, it's tough to get a linebacker one-on-one. If you're playing man coverage, there's 2 things that stick out. The linebackers have to cover somebody. That's number 1. And number 2, if everything is covered, everybody's got their backs to the quarterback. So if the quarterback can run, you got an issue there. So, those 2 things, when you're a pure man team, which Denver is pretty much man, that's going to be a factor in the game.
Yeah, I love the way you're breaking it down. This is what the fans want to hear. And Robert's one of them that's watching us right now on the stream. And to throw the question up, but he goes, I think Liam's offense is going to be prepared. He played Houston twice, the Rams, Seahawks, KC. Those are good defenses. It didn't go well against the Rams and Seahawks the way Jaguar fans were hoping, but they split against Houston, still thinking about that fourth quarter and what could have been, but they did fare well against those defenses. And so what you're saying right there, Coach, Liam versus Vance, and trying to take advantage of those man principles that he has on that side of the ball.
Yeah, and really, the one thing that Liam has done, which I think has made Trevor Lawrence better, is, and I've heard them say this. This is not just me talking. I've heard Liam make this comment. The comment, well, they simplified after that blowout with the Rams. The way they simplified was not saying, okay, we're going to throw everything out because Lawrence can't handle it. Mm-hmm. They were trying to get too cute rather than taking the things that have worked for them in the previous ball games and then window dress it. Mm-hmm. That's, you don't, every time you put new things in, I'm not talking about changing a blocking scheme or, showing a different formation. But when you start throwing, okay, against these guys, we can run this play and that play and this play and that play, that puts pressure on the quarterback as far as all of the pre-snap penalties, mm-hmm. the motions. If you're shifting too much, you're doing all these things. I think that's where he's got a good offensive mind. He knows how to attack a defense. That's what he's doing now. But he's doing it with plays that have been successful all the way through the year, which makes it easier for the whole football team.
Yeah, and so if you're self-scouting right now, and you have done all the things that we just talked about, Brian Thomas Jr. is back. He looked more confident, made some plays, maybe short arm one in the end zone, but still made some plays. We're seeing what Jakobi Meyers is doing. Jakobi Meyers has introduced the middle of the field to Trevor Lawrence once again, which is just beautiful. And then what Brenton Strange has done, and we just mentioned the running backs. So what does Liam try and pull out of the bag of his tricks, you would say, against Denver if you're trying to forecast what might happen?
Well, first of all, I don't know what the tricks he's going to do, but he's going to have to protect the quarterback. And that means you got to get rid of the ball. You've got to, stay consistent with the running game. And somehow, however you do it, you got to get into those third and mediums, short. Mm-hmm. And to me, Myers has been probably the biggest thing. When you put him with Strange and, we're not even talking about Thomas here. Thomas made one of the catches that I hadn't seen him make that he's supposed to make if he's an elite guy. Now, I think if he continues to do that, that's a real plus because now you got somebody that can take the top off the coverage. Yeah. But with Washington and Strange and Jakobi Meyers, the reason their completion improved yards mm-hmm. per completion was because of those deep crossing routes, those deep digs, those, they're 20-yard routes. They don't have to be 50-yard routes. Right. Hit those 20-yard routes, 25-yard routes. Those are big plays against the defense. How about if you take the ball on the 35 and you hit a 20-yard pass? Yeah. Okay, you're in Little's range. Yeah.
Oh, heck yeah.
But when you look at Denver, they're not a big play team. He's got a lower percentage average. And he's in the MVP talk. Yeah. Nix, but his average per completion is less than ours.
Well, look at that right there, Coach. And you can just see the number right there, 330 yards on 20 attempts. That's 16 and a half yards per catch. And that's stuff that you definitely did not see before in Trevor's sum total of work. And now eyes down the field. How about, I call it the pirouette play. How about the fact when he spins out of pressure, and it used to take him a long time to do that pirouette. Now, a quick pivot, turn, eyes up, and he hits Parker Washington on the crosser. So Liam coached him to say, hey, you want to turn this into a good play? Here's what you do. Here's where your guy's going to be. It was beautiful.
Yeah, he knew he was going to be in that area right there. And he initially, when he turned, he saw that the guy had steps on a guy, and there was a guy right in his face almost, and he let it go. Yeah. Sometimes you have to do that. And again, that's Parker Washington too. The ability to get himself open in the middle of the field. Now, against Denver, they're going to be playing against a couple of DBs that are pretty good, Moss and Surtain. Surtain might be the best player they've played against this year, in my opinion. But, those kind of things, when it's man-to-man, if you can protect the quarterback, you got a chance, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it was the play that Christian Watson was injured on when Pat Surtain went up and just took that ball away.
Right.
And Christian Watson fell to the ground. So both of those guys are good. Both of those pass rushers are good. Zach Allen, Nick Bonito, they're ferocious. They do have a lot of good players. Run game's got to be there, or that short passing game to obviously take pressure off of Trevor, right?
Yeah, I think, when you look at their stats, they're very similar. All across the board. I'm talking about the completion percentage, rush yards, all those things are pretty close. But now all of a sudden you got Harvey in there running back. He's not Dobbins. And so they're not running the ball quite as effectively, right? Well, defensively, though, the one stat that really sticks out is the difference between how many sacks we've given up and the ones they've given up, but more so how many sacks they've gotten. They've gotten 58 sacks. That's 4 sacks a ball game. That's huge, right? And we've only got 28 or something like that. So that part of the game, to me, is going to be really important. How do we protect? Bonito has got double-digit sacks already. He's a heck of a player now, but we've played against some good players, but we haven't had this, when you played the Texans, we were in control of that ball game. So we handled some good pass rushers, in games past. That's what we've got to be able to do in this game is don't, protect the quarterback and affect the quarterback. That's going to be huge. How we do that's going to determine whether we win or lose.
And look, we'll see how this line looks, because they're probably going to go heavy. They'll probably throw another tackle out there. It could be Walker Little and Cole Van Lanen out there at the same time. The fact that Cole Van Lanen's been able to hold down the fort at that left tackle position has been massive for this football team. All the other guys, even though, like we said, they didn't necessarily get the run game going this past week, they do have a chance, I think, to set up some good plays in the run game against this Broncos defense. All right, so now let's go to the Jags D against Bo Nix and how you think you would attack him. He has some pretty good numbers too, Coach. We threw the stat out yesterday. He is now in some pretty good company, second fastest in NFL history to 22 wins. Russell Wilson's the best, where he was able to play, I think it was, I have to look it up, but 29 games to get to 22 wins. Roethlisberger's up there. Dak Prescott's up there. And now Bo Nix is up there. How do you get him uncomfortable and make sure you harass him a little bit?
Well, first of all, they make it hard to do because, again, I mentioned this earlier, his average catch per, yardage per completion is only like 6 or something like that, because they get rid of the football. And that's, to me, he's not a 300-yard passer. He's a 225, 230 a game. So he gets rid of the ball quickly. What that forces us to do, in my opinion, is mix it up, as far as when you're pressuring, when you're not pressuring. But the biggest thing is the secondary and the linebackers have to tackle. They have to tackle in space. And that's what they do. They just what we did last week. They put their guys, their running back, Harvey, catches a lot of balls. They get rid of the football. It's not a downfield passing game, where they're going to try to take the top off the coverage. And we've been good with that. We haven't given up a lot of big plays, but we've got to tackle in space. And, obviously our front has got to play well. We've got to pressure them inside, so that the outside guys can get home. on some things.
And I tell you what, there have been a bunch of guys that have been able to step up. We see Buster Brown once again making plays, very physical, was able to pick off the ball. Jarian Jones, the same thing. So we're seeing these guys that are being asked to do a little extra. Josh Hines-Allen popped up on the injury report yesterday. We'll see what it looks like today. I believe it was a shoulder. It may just be a rest day for him.
Taking care of him.
Yeah, but you want to make sure that those guys are good to go, don't you? That they are ready to apply some pressure.
Yeah, I think Armstead, can be big. And talking about Bo Nix, I love the guy. I mean, the guy he's in the MVP category, basically because they've won 10 one-score games. And that means in the fourth quarter, and a bunch of them he's come back from. Right. I mean, that's where this team has made their mark. I think they're 10-2 in one-score game. There's only been 2 games, I think, total that they've blown somebody out.
Yeah.
So they've had 12 wins and 10 of them are against one-score games. So the disadvantage we have is, to my mind, is more about the atmosphere, right, and going in there than it is. Like I said, I think the stats are pretty equal. If we could keep them from killing our quarterback, right, please, this will be a heck of a ball game. But the advantage goes to them playing in Denver. That's the concern to me.
All right, so let's use that for Social Alky with his comment. You guys can throw some comments in the chat, but he says, disrespect used to bother me, but truth be told, it's okay. Also, the Jags will be the Broncos' toughest game, but no one speaks on that narrative, mainly because the media won't admit it. And I get it because of what you said, Coach. It totally backs up what he's saying, is that the record of what Jacksonville has done record-wise against the teams they've beaten versus the teams that Denver has beaten, it's a better win percentage record. So a little respect coming our way, please.
I think if you looked at the two teams, I think they would be fairly even on offense. Mm-hmm. I think they have a little bit of an advantage on defense. I think their defense is probably a little better than ours. And then the advantage of being at home with the crowd noise and all those things, if we keep our poise and we don't, give them easy plays because, communication and all that kind of stuff, this will be a heck of a ball game. And I saw some of them. To be honest with you, this is the first time that blowout of the Jets was the first time I've heard national guys saying, hey, wait a minute. The Jaguars, you better be ready for the Jaguars. They're starting to come on, and that's the truth. And so to me, it's going to be a heck of a football game. We've got to make sure that one of the reasons they've won a lot of one-score games is because you win one-score games in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. And
now you got the altitude, which affects maybe a little bit of the energy. And then you got that home field crowd, and that guys make some mistakes. Those are the things we have to avoid. I think this team doesn't look at anybody like they can't win. So, our team. So, I'm looking forward to the ball game.
Well, I don't want to see any of this. There you go. Because the penalties, they really have to button up those mental moments pre-snap and whatever it might be, just the illegal procedure, the false starts, any of those things. If they can clean up the pre-snap, I may take a hold or two here or there, but don't litter the field with laundry if you can avoid it.
Yeah, there's no question, and this is going to have to be a clean ball game. The great thing about this game, in my opinion, listen, personally, I think they're going to win a minimum of 2 more games.
Okay.
Let me get that out right now. So whoever it is, I don't know who it is, but I know that when I look at this football team, this is the kind of team they have to play, and they're going to play when they win those 2 games and they're in the playoffs. They're going to be playing somebody that's just like the Denver Broncos.
Yeah.
So to me, this is a game that's going to kind of show who we are. And even though no matter what we do, it's not going to define us. But it certainly is the type of game that they want to see right now, getting at the end of the year going in.
Yeah. And I think right now it's a litmus test in a lot of ways for fans, for people who are on the outside looking in. And I think that's what it boils down to. They have to take advantage of opportunities. If they can force Bo Nix into a takeaway or two, as you mentioned earlier, R.J. Harvey's used more in the passing game than he is in the run game. This team's been good against the run. So if they can neutralize that and then pick him off and make him uncomfortable, everything changes. All right, here's Duval TV with one of the comments. I have a feeling they're going to dominate the Broncos. I don't know why. I can feel it. Maybe it's my coffee, LMAO. And so, look, there ain't nothing wrong with being fired up about the chances that this team has to win this ball game, but it has to be, back to your point, Coach, a clean game.
Every game is different, how you match up. And there are some things that we match up really well with them, and there are some things that they match up well with us. So, again, this game, when we win, that's a huge win.
Yeah.
By a small chance we don't, it will not define us, but it will certainly give us the what we need going down the stretch here, so that we don't go limping into the playoffs. We've got to play some good football teams, and we've already proven we've beaten some good football teams. So it's time to roll here for the Jags.
Okay, so let's wrap up on this. The coaching advantages. It's a first-year head coach in Liam versus a Super Bowl winning coach in Sean. Sean Payton's an accomplished, damn good coach. Matchup wise, it's going to be interesting to see which of these guys offensively can work their magic against the defensive coordinators. So we already talked about Liam versus Vance. Go Anthony Campanile versus Sean Payton.
Well, yeah, I mean, I love Campanile. I think he's done a great job with this defense. They've improved, week to week to week. I think they're a better defensive team right now than they were. I think he understands how to attack offenses. He's playing against a pretty good play caller, and so, he's going to have to be on his toes there. But guys have got to play. I like Campanile. I like Peyton. It's going to be a battle. That's how I look at it. This game's going to come down to, in my opinion, it's going to come down to 23-21, 24-21, 24-23, 27-24. That's what it's going to come down to. The one thing, I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring ball game for us. So our defense is going to have to play. I think it's going to, they're only giving up, I think, 18 points a game, which is, that's back what we did in Dallas back in the day. When you get down under 20, you got a pretty good chance of winning. So things are going to have to happen for us during the course of the game. But I like Campanile. I think he'll do a good job against those guys. Yeah,
he really has put players in motion to make plays at the right time. He's just got a good sense and feel for it. All right, so we're done, Coach. We tried to deliver as much as we can. Now the team's got to deliver. One of our last texters asking about Josh Hines-Allen. If you look at the practice report, he full participation for Trayvon, which is good. Strigo did not participate with the ankle. I believe it was just maybe that veterans rest day, but illness and shoulder were both listed for Josh Hines-Allen. But I don't think we have to worry about that just yet. We'll see what the injury report looks like later today.
Well, I think the shoulder is normal NFL wear, wear on you, whatever. The illness is probably what kept him off the practice field.
Yeah, probably.
If he's got some kind of an illness, he's got a cold or whatever, at this point in time, he doesn't need to practice every play. That's just a veteran. Yeah.
All right. Great stuff, Coach. As always, we appreciate all of Duval and beyond that we're tuning in, checking everything out. As Campo and Joe is always fired up to bring a little extra Jaguar talk your way. If you pick us up later on, definitely check it out on any of our social channels. Yoda /Jake, good job as always, bro. We appreciate it. Coach, we'll talk to you tomorrow on XL Primetime.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot. And Merry Christmas to all you guys, people out there, not guys, people, women and men. And have a great day. And we'll talk tomorrow, Joe.
All right. Sounds good. Campo and Joe, thanks to all of y'all for hanging out with us.